Okay, Jason. I think one great thing to hear from the sales team would be to hear how your first summer went, some of the struggles and challenges that you faced, and what turned that around, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah. So I think, well, I started selling, it was 1994, my first summer knocking doors. And I went out just because one of my roommates told me about it, and we went out. But I think really that was a life-changing experience for me. And I know sometimes we talk about just what we learn, but for me it wasn't a matter of learning. It was like I became a different person, through that whole experience from the beginning to the end. It was the hardest thing I ever did, and I went out and that summer I wasn't really very good at it, when I started, and I've talked about that a little bit before, I think, with everybody. There was one thing that actually I was holding on to that was motivating for me the whole year, and it seems kind of weird, but I wanted to buy a Honda Civic. Like, that was like my dream. And they had come out with a new model like the year before, and every time I saw one of those, I was like, oh, I would look at the Honda, I would look at the Civic, and I'd like, oh my gosh, this is what I, and every day, like when it was hard, and especially when the job got hard, I would think about getting my Civic, and and that was one thing that just kept me going throughout the summer.
Cool. So give me an idea of just how the struggle was, like more specifically, like were you zeroing for several weeks? Were the sales sporadic? And then really what clicked? Like what was it that clicked? What did you change or do differently that like finally made it click?
Yeah, okay, I will say it was very specific. And it was weird because I went from doing really, really bad, being dead last in my office for the first 2 weeks of the summer, and going through this sort of a process where I came home and I was ready to give up or just I was really right at that verge, and I just needed to figure it out for myself. And I remember just spending the better part of one night just really rethinking through everything I was doing and how I was going about it. I made one really major change for me that changed everything, and not to oversimplify it, but I adopted a much more question-based approach to my selling, and that actually completely changed it around. I started asking question after question, and I just started thinking about different questions that I could ask, and it was crazy. I went out, and once I kind of had come up with this idea, I went out and I started implementing that, and everything changed for me. It was like I was engaging, I was getting inside the house, and all of these different things that were happening, and then doing it over and over and over and over, and getting better and better and better at that, and getting more comfortable being able to read people. From that point on, the job was hard, but I was also succeeding, so it wasn't like, oh, it was hard, and yeah, it's hard, and it was uncomfortable, but I was also having some success.
Awesome.